Good afternoon, everyone. We are students from School of Economics, CMU, Thailand. Today we would like to talk about the Ricardian equivalence. First, please turn on the phone to silent mode. Thank you. So, what is the Ricardian equivalence? It is, how do the consumers respond to the fiscal policy? It can be described by two theories, Kane and Fisher. In Kane, assume that people have a borrowing constraints. Then, they are focusing on their current income, not their future income. For Fisher, he looks into two periods of time, the current period and the future period. So, if people consume too much in current period, people will consume less in future period. Now, let's look at the government debt. It is the debt, owned by the central government, that been affected by the spending and receipts. So, is the government debt really a problem? Consider a tax cut with corresponding increase in the government debt. We have two viewpoints, the traditional view and the Ricardian view. First, let's look at the traditional view. When government cuts tax, consumers respond to their extra disposable income. People are now short-sighted. The current consumption depends on the current income. Next is the Ricardian view, was opened by David Ricardo, which has been advanced by Robert Barrow. According to the Ricardian view, the tax cuts has no effect on consumption, national saving, or real GDP, even in the short run. As the consumers are forward-looking, know that a tax cuts today means an increase in future taxes. So, the tax cuts doesn't make the consumers better off, causing private saving to rise in the same amount of the falling public saving, leaving the national saving unchanged. Now, what seems to be the problems for this view? First, is myopia. Some consumers do not think far ahead. Next, is the borrowing constraints. Some consumers cannot borrow enough to achieve their optimal consumption, so they have to spend at tax cuts. Lastly, is the future generations. They may expect the burden of repaying a tax cut to fall in the future. Now, are there any evidence against the Ricardian equivalence? In early 1980s, President Reagan implied the tax cuts policy. It increased deficit. National saving fell. Real interest rate rose, and exchange rate appreciated. In 1992, income tax withholding reduced to stimulate the economy. Half of consumers increased consumption. But, is it fair to judge the Ricardian view from Reagan? Consumers may expect to pay the debt by cutting on future spending instead. And, private saving may have fallen for other reasons than tax cut, such as the optimism about the economy. Another interesting case is the Bush tax cuts since 2001, saying,
"These tax cuts effectively paid for themselves."
Wall Street Journal and Heritage Foundation were supporting the cuts, stated that taxes paid by millionaire households more than double. The statements have been disputed by many organizations, policy analysts, and economists, including Paul Krugman, wrote in the New York Times 2007.
Supply-side doctrine, which claimed without evidence, never got any traction in the world of professional economics research.
The policies were claimed for the rise in income inequality. Critics have stated that the tax cuts increased the budget deficit. It shifted tax burden from the rich to the middle and working classes.
The full Bush tax cuts were the single biggest contributor to the deficit over the past decade, reducing revenues by about $1.8 trillion.
Lastly, is the payroll tax cut 2011 in Washington by reduced workers' Social Security tax withholding rate from 6.2% to 4.2% for a family earning less than $50,000 a year. This is the result of the survey. It shows that people consume more than their plan and save less than their expectation. Either way, the data is object to different interpretations. There is no black and white in this case. Now, Ask yourselves 2 questions. What view do you agree, and why? Do you agree with the view? This is exhausted, isn't it? It's time for some sit back and relax. Thank you for your attention. And have a happy Monday.